Hi everybody, welcome to the Manifold channel. This is the second of two videos looking at styling choices in tables. And the first video covered how the first way in which choice styling for fields is used. That's to provide a pop-up list of allowed choices when editing a field. Please watch that video first before you start with the second video. The second video shows the second use of choice styling in table fields, and that's to provide aliases for values where the alias can show the contents of a field in more understandable form. We're working with Manifold System Release 9 here. Make sure you're working with the latest version of Manifold Release 9. You can do all this in Viewer, by the way, as well. And what we're looking at is a classic use of choice styling, which is land use and land cover classifications. We're looking at a map here that has a background layer, which is an OpenStreetMap, and then there's a vector layer here, which is called land use unstyled, and we're calling it land use unstyled because I haven't styled it yet. And what this shows is it shows polygonal areas that show different land use classifications within the Bay Area. And let's zoom into a little bit closer. I'm going to choose this detail, and you can see how these different regions here have different land use and land classifications, and they're colored by their land use and land classifications. If we actually look at the table, we can see the table is very simple. For each area object, there is obviously a geometry field, and there's a code, and this is the land use land classification codes. For example, if we control click on this one right there, I've obviously done this before, to select it, you can see it selects that same row, the corresponding row in the table, and you can see this is a code 11. So what might you ask is code 11? Well, and that's a pretty simple deal to answer if you have some sort of handy lookup table that's got the USGS land use codes. Code 11 happens to be residential. Now, if you don't have this handy, how would you know that this is a residential? I mean, you could turn on a label, and if we turn on the labels here, which is just gives us the code, you can see that here's 11, and this is code 12. That's code 12 there. This is code 33. What's code 12? Well, that's commercial services. But you can see how just looking at a numeric code, whether it's 11 or 12 or whatever it is, that's not all that understandable. What we'd really like to do is we'd really have this code dynamically display the description. And in order to do that, we use the choice styling, and that's very easy to do. And the way we do that, and I'll switch here to the choice table because I don't want to. So I'll turn off land use unstyled labels, and let's turn on land use. And this is the styled version of the same drawing. And if I look at the land use table, what we see is here. And now, how did I create this code? That's the same code field. That's still a numeric code, just like in the unstyled table here. Here it is there. If I hover at it, you can see it's a UN32. That's also an integer. The difference is how come this integer field is being shown as a text field? And the reason it is because what we've done is we right-clicked here onto the code column header. We chose style, and then here in the style dialog in the choice box, instead of using one of the standard formats for a numeric field, we clicked here on the choice tab, and we entered the value 11, shows residential, and then we did that in a very straightforward way. We just double-clicked this and entered 11, and then here, show as residential. So residential as a text field, a text value is basically an alias for the numeric value of 11. Wherever the numeric value of 11 would be displayed, for example, in a table or in a label or something like that from that field, it would be shown as the text value residential. And we entered all this manually. Sounds like it's pretty laborious to enter all this, but I did it personally, and it took me about less than 5 minutes. I don't know when you're actually watching this video because Manifold evolves so rapidly that it's hard to keep up with videos. Plans are in the near future for Manifold, after this build comes out, to add facilities to load up a style dialog with the choice tab by copying these correspondences from a table somewhere. So, for example, you could take this USGS land use codes table and use that to load up, the choice dialog for style. So that'll make it more convenient than entering all this stuff manually. In most cases, you don't have all that many choices here. There's probably a dozen or 2 dozen or something like that. That's easy enough to do manually, but it would be more convenient to do it automatically. So, of course, Manifold is going to add that capability. Anyway, I added this facility right here if you wanted to change that. So we want to change that to housing. Watch when I change this to housing and I click OK. It'll immediately change here. Notice how residential changed to housing. That's simply defining the alias by defining what's in that style dialog. So let's turn that back to residential. Click OK, and there it's done. Now let's move this slightly out of the way, and what you'll see is that any place where it works to add a new field or something like that, for example, add a new area, or edit the table or anything like that, the codes automatically work. So here, for example, if we let's turn on the styled labels, land use labels, you can see the labels are automatically drawn. So where it says commercial services and where it says residential, those are automatically changed. If I want to change this area here, I'm going to alt-click it. Make sure we have the focus on the map to pick that object, that big object. You can see where it says here code residential. Let's say I want to change that to bare exposed rock, or if I want to change that to cropland and pastures, I can do that and move this out of the way. So let's click update record, and that'll update the record. We'll do a view refresh. That's also something that Manifold will add, so that it will refresh automatically instead of you having to choose view refresh. But you can see I've just changed the value of that from residential to cropland and pastures, and that changed in the table. It changed here. It changed it in the styling, and all we did is we changed the number. We changed the number from 11 for residential, we changed the number to 21 for cropland and pasture. But the way we changed that is we changed it by choosing from this list of capabilities here. And let me move this a little bit farther up. So let's see if we can try to get that in view. Yeah, there it is in view. If I want to change it back, I can just click to residential. And this is a lot easier to work with this data than to try to remember what numbers are, because I don't know if you remember what number residential is. I sure don't. I think it was 11. But it's a lot easier if you just pick it off a list here where you can see the text description instead of trying to pick it by number. So I've changed that there in the table, and that's also changed it in the map. Click view refresh to change it in the map. If we moved anything in the map, for example, we panned or zoomed something, it would automatically refresh itself as well. And that's how aliasing works. It's really that simple. If let's see, let's try to do something tricky here. And what I'll do is I'll put a new area right here off on the Pacific Ocean, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to, here in the land use, I'm going to draw a new area, and what I'll do is let's create an area. So I'll click here, 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 and here, and for the code, let's choose a code. I mean, what do we want to call this? Let's use Evergreen Forest Land just for the heck of it. Click add record, and you can see there we've done it. So if you're doing something like working with a map, say perhaps you're adding parcels, or you're adding areas that denote land use classifications or anything else, whatever you put into that land use table here, whatever you created here in the styling choice panel, where you have all this list of aliases, that's exactly what's going to be used. So it's that simple. You just create this list the way you want it, with the correspondence from the value to the show as, and then to your heart's content, instead of using those mystic codes that are really difficult to understand, you can just simply use the description, as we just did when we created the Evergreen Forest Land area here. Now, some people might say, well, can't you do all this with a join? And the answer is, yeah, of course, you could do this with a join. So, for example, let's see here. This is the code, and let's go into the transform pane and land use table code. I want to copy that, and I want to copy the code field into a new result. And the new result field I'm going to call numeric code, which I'm also going to make an int32. And click transform, and what I just done is I've added a field to the attribute table called numeric code, and that's simply a copy of this code here. I haven't styled this yet. For example, I haven't styled this to use choices. If I click here on style, you can see there's nothing in the choice pane. I haven't done the value of show as correspondence for aliasing, so it's just showing the numbers here. So that just shows the number. And if we wanted, I happen to have a table here in my project, which is called USGS land use codes. Here's the description of the land use codes. This is what I've been using. And if I wanted, I could add a field here that is the, let's use the edit join dialog. And what I want to do is for the, okay, let's close this and put the focus on the land use table. Choose edit join. And the land use table I want to join with the USGS land use codes, where code is equal to code. And I want to add a description field. Great, click join. And just like that, I've added a description value, which is a join based on this numeric code. You can see they're the same. The difference is here that if I change the numeric code from, say, 11 to 12, that's not changing this field here. That's kind of like a fixed value when you do a join in that way. And And if you want to change this to something else like to industrial, you have to know that industrial is 13, which is pretty bogus. Whereas right here, if you want to change it, you can change it to whatever you want just by picking it off a list. So it's so it's dynamic. So the idea of using choices as an alias is just it's a more convenient way to show the content of a field in a more understandable form. That's dynamic. It's automatically updated. So unlike say adding a join, which is a kind of a one-time thing to form the table. You could of course create a table based on a query which dynamically did the join, but that's a whole lot of extra work, and it's a lot easier just to use choices. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this second look at choices to see how to use them as aliases and how you can use them as aliases. In the first video, we looked at how to create a pop-up list of allowed choices. That's a very simple use. A slightly more sophisticated use is what we've seen in this video, which is to how to provide aliases for values that show the contents of a field in a more understandable form. And either way, it's easy to do, easy to work with, and so I strongly urge you to give this a try and add it to your repertoire of manifold tools. Tell your friends about the incredible power of Manifold Release 9, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and goodbye from Manifold Land. Well, that was fun. If you want to see more, visit us at www.manifold.net. As always, Manifold delivers the world's most advanced, highest quality spatial products for GIS and DBMS at a low price that you can afford. Once again, that's manifold.net. See you soon.